Good evening. My name is Bertha Simpson, and I'm a member of the Cultural Diversity Commission. And my topic tonight will be on the irony of the White House, slaves in the White House. Did you know that the first child born at the White House was the grandson of President Thomas Jefferson, and the second child in 1806 was born to two slaves in the White House. The parents were Fanny and Eddie. Not only did the slaves help the White House build the White House, they also served as servants in the White House. The owners were letting the slaves out, and the slaves were not paid per se. The owners were paid for the workers, and they were paid $5 a month. Slaves handled carpentry, cleared the grounds, worked in quarries and lumber mills, and they also poured concrete. They were fed cornbread, beef, and pork. That's pretty good. And lived in huts on the Capitol grounds. 200 years later, Barack Obama, his election as the 44th president, the first black chief executive, cast a spotlight on the complicated history of African Americans. During and after slavery, black workers made the White House function, as 89-year-old William Bowen attested to. He was a second-generation butler, and he served Presidents Dwight D. Eisenhower up until Mr. George H.W. Bush. When Mr. Bowen started at the White House, segregation was still legal. But as the African Americans moved up the echelon, they were treated more respect. Washington planner Pierre Elefant rented slaves and slaves from nearby owners to help at the White House when it was still in Philadelphia. So when they later became more prominent, the presidents invited the slaves, they were not slaves, into the White House. President Abraham Lincoln met with abolitionists, Frederick Douglass, and Sojourner Truth. In the White House, President Andrew Johnson appointed William Slade as the first White House steward. The person was charged with running the domestic side of the White House. But in 1901, there was a fly in the ointment. President Theodore Roosevelt formally invited Booker T. Washington to the White House for dinner, and the Southern newspapers were outraged and publicly condemned Roosevelt when they learned that the invitation had been issued. Roosevelt never again invited a black person to the White House for dinner. History is filled with irony. As the first black chief executive and his family take a residence in the White House, January 2009, Barack and Michelle Obama and their daughters will be living in a historic mansion that was built in large measure by slave labor. And if you want to know further about information about the slaves in the White House, you can purchase a book by Jesse J. Holland, who is the author of Black Men Who Built the Capitol, Discovering African American History. I thank you.
Thank you, Bertha Simpson. It's nice to have you. Ms. Mary Jacobs will give the city manager's report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Just wanted to let you know, and I did mention this in our work session on Tuesday, but the city received 13 bids for what we thought was a relatively small project, a community development block grant project of Maccabee Street, improving that over on our west side. The project originally, a couple years ago, this is a long process, was estimated to be around $300,000. Well, as the prices have gone down, we estimated before we went out to bid that it would be around $160,000, and bids came in at $85,000. So we are looking to try to expand that project, add some curb, gutter, sidewalk if we can get some additional right-of-way. But I think that is an indicator as to where things are at the moment. I also wanted to mention for the public that the city is going online for a public auction, and we have a number of items that are on our auction at this very moment: furniture, bikes, cameras, electronics, and a lot of other items. And all you need to do is go to the city's website, which is sierravistaaz.gov, and click on hot links, and it'll show you where to go. And then lastly, I just wanted to mention that next Thursday, January 29th at 4 o'clock, right here in the council chambers, we are going to be having what we're calling a listening session, which is for stakeholders who are interested in the city's upcoming review of our development fees. So this is going to be prior to the study process, and we want to hear concerns that folks who might be affected by development fees would have before, so we can share that information both with the council and with our consultant who's doing the study. And that's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mrs. Jacobs.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Mrs. Jacobs, you didn't mention who was the winning bidder on the Maccabee project, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mayor Pro Tem Mueller. The winning bidder was KE&G Construction.
Thank you.
Moving on to the consent agenda, Mr. Miller, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that the consent agenda consisting of Resolution 2009-011, acceptance of the Canyon de Flores Street Extension improvements, Resolution 2009-012, acceptance of public improvements for Chaparral Village North, Phase 6A, Resolution 2009-013, resignation of David Monkowski from the Commission on Disability Issues, and Resolution 2009-014, resignation of Laurie Hampton from the Parks and Recreation Commission, be approved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor? It's unanimous. Opening new business, item number 3, Ms. Husky.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that the regular City Council meeting minutes of January 8th, 2009 be approved.
Second.
All in favor?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I remind that I must abstain from this.
Must abstain, yeah. All in favor, and it was unanimous. Item number 4, Mr. Reardon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that the special City Council meeting minutes of January 12th, 2009 and January 15th, 2009 be approved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor? Again, Mr. Hampton abstaining.